The Discourses of Christ of the Last Days.
Only by practicing the truth can one cast off the shackles of a corrupt disposition. What is life entry? It is when, after understanding the truth, people come to know God, to submit to Him, to reflect on and know their corrupt dispositions, and to cast them off, and are thus able to put the truth into practice. When one is able to put the truth into practice and truly submit to God, they have entered into the truth reality. Those who can put the truth into practice are those who have life entry. As soon as the truth becomes someone's life, they will no longer be constrained by any person, event, or thing. They will be able to truly submit to God, and truly love God, and truly worship God. That is what it means to possess the truth reality and true testimony. That is the ultimate result of life entry. If a person believes in God for many years, but still lives by a satanic disposition, acting according to their own wishes, without praying or seeking the truth, believing for years without changing even a little, and is hardly any different from a non-believer, then a person like that has no life entry. They have not obtained the truth, and they have not gained the life. If you have not obtained the truth, then you are living under Satan's power. You could not submit to God, love God, practice the truth, or be strong, even if you wish to. If you cannot be strong, what kind of state will you be trapped in? Will you not always be trapped in a state of negativity? You will always be swayed about by your environment, fearing that you will be eliminated, fearing God's displeasure, fearing this and that, passively and reluctantly doing a bit of your duty and preparing a few good deeds. Basically, you will be pulled, led, and driven along, and the part of you that is active and proactive will be very small. So the results that you get in doing your duty will be unsatisfactory. Such people are never able to give their hearts to God, and so they are constrained and bound by many people, events, and things, and they are always trapped in a negative state. Because of this, they live very tiring lives. They are in great pain, and they cannot find freedom and release. After a while, their own willpower can no longer sustain them, and they live every day within a satanic disposition, just like the non-believers. Can this kind of belief in God enable a person to achieve salvation? Some people say, "I am enthusiastic. I am willing to do things for God. I am young, I have energy and resolve, and I do not fear difficulties." Is all of that of any use? It is not. Your energy is useless, no matter how much of it you have. How long can the little vigor that a person has sustain them? They will still frequently fail and stumble, and they will be paralyzed when they fall into negativity. It is no good believing in God if you do not understand the truth, or if you do not have true faith. If you only have enthusiasm or energy, it will be of no use. Those things are not the life. They are only a person's momentary enthusiasm and interest. People have corrupt dispositions. Whether they are male or female, old or young, they all have brief bursts of energy, passing enthusiasm, passing impulses. They all have times when they get fired up, when they are excitable. But that is courage born of hot-headedness, and it does not last. People's theories, ideals, and dreams will collapse in the blink of an eye, and without the truth, people cannot stand firm. Can a person who lives by hot-headedness do their duty well? Can they satisfy God?
No, they cannot.
So, people must have life entry. They must enter into the truth reality. There are those who say, "Why is entering into the truth reality so strenuous? Why am I bound by so many entanglements? What should I do?" Can people rely on themselves to resolve this problem? There are some who say, "I have the willpower and the resolve. I am not afraid of difficulties. My mind is made up. I will surmount every obstacle. I will embrace these challenges. I am not afraid of anything. No matter how hard it gets, I will persist to the end." Is this useful? It can actually sustain them for a bit, but their practical difficulties will still remain, and a corrupt disposition will still have put down roots within them, and it will not have changed. If you persist in following God to the end, but you have not changed your life disposition or entered into the truth reality, can you obtain God's approval? You still cannot. Believing in God is not a question of whether or not you can persist to the end. The key is whether or not you can obtain the truth, the life, and God's approval. This is the most important thing. If a person cannot enter into the truth reality, if they cannot make the truth their life, then will their burst of enthusiasm or vigor last very long? It cannot last. People must understand the truth and use the truth to replace it. When a person has resolved their corrupt disposition and possesses the faith and the principles to practice the truth, they will be able to persevere unwaveringly and keep trying in spite of all setbacks. No matter what environments, obstacles, or even temptations they encounter, they will always rely on God and look up to Him to triumph over Satan. In order to achieve this result, you must come before God often, confide in Him, tell Him your difficulties in prayer, and speak truthfully to Him. Also, as you do your duty in reality and during your real life, you must seek on how to act so that you might practice the truth. You must seek and fellowship with people who understand the truth, who have the ability to comprehend the truth, and from doing so obtain a little bit of enlightenment and edification, and find a path of practice. When you are able to practice the truth, will that not solve your problem? If you always hold back and do not fellowship, thinking to yourself, "Maybe one day my stature will grow, and I'll naturally just understand the truth. Then I don't need to deal with it now." This kind of thinking is vague, unrealistic, and likely to delay things. This problem can be resolved by seeking out and fellowshipping with people who understand the truth. If you have the comprehension ability, then you can also resolve the problem by reading God's words. Why do you not take resolving this problem seriously? If you do not seek the truth to resolve it, will the problem go away on its own? That is a foolish thought. When things befall you now, Are you able to seek the truth? Have you learned how to seek the truth? Aside from mastering some principles in your professional field, are you able to seek the truth when it comes to your own life entry? To improving your various states and changing your corrupt disposition? If you still complain when you are pruned because you did something that violated the principles, if you still feel constrained because you have been pruned, and if you go so far as to give up on yourself, thinking that you are going to be eliminated and become negative and slack off, then is your satanic disposition not so severe that you are being suffocated by it? When it comes to understanding the truth, people's difficulties are too numerous and great. When they encounter problems, the negative parts of them emerge too quickly and for too long, and they practice the truth too slowly and too little. When people encounter certain environments, or notice certain glances from others, or hear certain words spoken, or find out certain kinds of information, negative things will arise in them, no matter the time and place. These are natural revelations of a corrupt disposition. What does this prove? It proves that there is no element of the truth within human life. The unprocessed things that people naturally reveal, whether you think them in your head, or speak them with your mouth, or if they are something that you intend or plan to do, whether intentional or unintentional, all these things are related to your corrupt disposition. From where are people's corrupt dispositions revealed? It can be said with certainty that people's corrupt dispositions are revealed from their satanic nature. That is the source. Considering the corrupt things that people reveal, it is clear that people do not have any of the truth reality, that they do not have any normal humanity, and that they do not have any normal reason. Right now, you can dissect yourselves. If you pay attention and focus on self-reflection, you can learn whether your intense thoughts and views are right or not, and whether they are in accordance with the truth or not. Generally, you will be able to discern these things a little and understand them. So, after you come to understand these things, will you be able to seek the truth for a solution? Or will you let them develop on their own, thinking, I want to think this way. Thinking this way is beneficial to me. Other people have no right to interfere. If I don't say these things out loud, or act upon them, if I just think about them, isn't that okay? Are there not some people who do this? What is this a manifestation of? They clearly know that thinking this way is wrong, but they do not seek the truth. They do not put aside these thoughts or rebel against them. They persist in thinking and acting that way, completely unconcerned. These people do not love the truth, and they cannot stand firm. Some people do not perform a duty, and no one gets serious with them. These people think that as a believer in God, it is enough to just read God's words, to live a church life, and to usually not do bad things or act in a dissolute way like non-believers. They think that maybe in the end they will receive some blessings and be able to survive. People hold on to this kind of wishful thinking in their belief in God. On the surface, they do not commit any serious mistakes, but they have no life entry at all, nor have they obtained any truth reality, the moment that someone gets serious with them, they realize that they are full of problems and shortcomings. And they become negative, thinking, "It's all over, isn't it? I've believed in God for years, and I've gained nothing from it. It looks like believing in God really isn't easy." They become cold, and they are no longer willing to strive toward the truth. After a while, they feel empty, and they feel like they need to pursue the truth to have hope. When they begin to do their duty, and people get serious with them again, they finally feel that people have to possess the truth. Otherwise, it's too easy for them to make mistakes. If people don't pursue the truth, they'll always commit transgressions and get pruned. If they rely on their enthusiasm to do things, they will be pruned too. I must be cautious in everything. I absolutely must not speak or act recklessly. I shouldn't stick my nose into things. It is better to be a coward than to stand out. They think that practicing this way is perfectly appropriate, that no one can point out any mistakes in it. But they have overlooked the most crucial point, which is that they ought to pursue the truth. They do not pursue the truth, nor do they pursue their own life entry, and that is their fatal flaw. When they do their duty, they are satisfied with just getting the job done. In order to complete their work, they labor from dawn to dusk, and sometimes they are so busy that they do not even care if they miss 2 meals. They can really suffer and pay a price, but they have no life entry. At every turn, they are on their guard against others, for fear that they will make a mistake and be pruned. Is this sort of state right? Is this someone who pursues the truth? If people do their duty like this until the end, will they be able to obtain the truth or enter into the truth reality? Are there not many people like this among you? Are you not often in this very state? Are you on the alert, thinking that this is a bad way to act, that you are living in a negative state? When things befall you, you always act like cowards. You always act like people pleasers, always compromising, always taking the middle path, never offending anyone or sticking your nose into things, never going too far. It is like you are standing in your own position, sticking to your duty, doing whatever you are asked to do, standing neither in the front nor in the back, and going with the flow. Tell me, do you think that if you persist in doing your duty this way to the very end, you will be able to obtain God's approval? Are you aware that this kind of state is quite dangerous? That not only will you be unable to obtain God's perfection, but that you are also likely to offend God's disposition? Does this kind of lukewarm person pursue the truth? Are they the kind of person who fears God and shuns evil? A person who lives in this kind of state often pours forth the thoughts of a people pleaser, and they don't have a God-fearing heart. If one merely feels horror and fright for no good reason, is that a God-fearing heart? Even if they throw their whole self into their duty, resign from their work, and renounce their family, if they do not give God their heart, and they guard themselves against God, is that a good state? Is that the normal state of entering into the truth reality? Is the future development of this state not terrifying? If a person continues on in this state, can they obtain the truth? can they gain the life? Can they enter into the truth reality? Are you aware that you yourselves possess this very state? When you become aware of it, do you think to yourselves, "Why am I always guarded against God? Why do I always think this way?" To think this way is so frightening. It is opposing God and rejecting the truth. Guarding against God is the same as resisting Him. The state of being guarded against God is just like being a thief. You do not dare to live in the light. You are afraid of exposing your demonic faces, and at the same time, you are frightened. God is not to be trifled with. He can judge and chastise people at all times and places. If you anger God, in mild cases, He will prune you, and in severe ones, He will punish you, make you sick, or cause you to suffer. People cannot bear those things. Do people not have these misunderstandings? Is this a God-fearing heart? Is this kind of state not terrifying? When a person is in this state, when they guard against God, and always have these thoughts, when they always have this kind of attitude toward God, are they treating God like God? Is this belief in God? When a person believes in God in this way, when they do not treat God like God, is that not a problem? At the very minimum, people do not accept God's righteous disposition, nor do they accept the fact of His work. They think, "It's true that God is merciful and loving, but He is also wrathful. When God's wrath befalls a person, it is disastrous. He can smite people to death at any time, destroying whomever He wishes. Do not invoke God's anger. It is true that His majesty and wrath permit no offense. Keep your distance from Him." If a person has this kind of attitude and these ideas, can they fully and sincerely come before God? They cannot. Is there not then a distance between them and God? Are there not many things separating the two of them? Which things hinder people from coming before God?
Their futures and destinies.
Fame, gain, and status.
What else? Which things cause people to be averse to the truth, to reject the truth, to reject God's life provision and His salvation? Ponder on this. Which parts of people hinder them from sincerely coming before God, and from practicing the truth, and from giving their bodies and hearts over to God to take charge of and hold sovereignty over? Which things cause people to be afraid of God and to misunderstand God? People have corrupt dispositions, as well as satanic philosophies and satanic thoughts. They are deceitful. They guard against God at every turn, mistrusting and misunderstanding Him. When they are adulterated by all of these things, can a person truly trust God? Can they accept God's words as their life? Some people say, "I eat and drink God's words every day. When I read His words and feel moved by them, I pray. I treasure God's words as the truth. I read them every day, and I often pray in silence and sing hymns praising God." Although this kind of spiritual life is good, if these people still rely on their own ideas when reacting to things that befall them, if they do not seek the truth at all, and none of the doctrines that they understand have an effect on them. What is going on? People do not love the truth. They claim to treasure God's words, but they do not hold themselves up against them for comparison, and they do not put them into practice. This is very troublesome, and it is very difficult for people to then enter into the truth reality. People never understand the truth, nor do they have the slightest knowledge of God. So they certainly have notions and misunderstandings about God, and there is a wall between them and God. Do you not all have personal experience of this? You say, I don't want to guard against God. I want to truly trust Him. But when something happens to me, I can't help but guard against Him. I want to bundle myself up and separate myself from God, and to use satanic philosophies to protect myself. What is wrong with me? This shows that people do not have the truth. They still live by satanic philosophies, and they are still controlled by Satan. That is the pitiful likeness that people have due to their satanic nature. It is difficult for them to put the truth into practice. Not practicing the truth is the greatest barrier to life entry. If this problem is not solved, it is difficult for a person to give their heart to God, to obtain His work, or to enter into the truth reality. Have you all experienced this? How can this matter be resolved? You must reflect on and try to know yourselves, and see which things are hindering you from practicing the truth. Solving this problem is key.